For most of us, Saturday morning cartoons were a sanctuary. It was a time of sugary cereal, bright colors, and simple stories where the good guys always won and the bad guys were just goofy nuisances. We trusted the networks. We trusted that if it was animated, if it was colorful, and if it aired at 10 a.m., it was safe. But sometimes, that trust was broken. Sometimes, slipping through the cracks of censorship and network guidelines, came shows that defied explanation. These were programs that looked like children's entertainment on the surface, but harbored themes of nihilism, body horror, psychological abuse, and death just beneath the ink and paint. Were they accidents? Or were they the work of creators who had no interest in coddling children? Creators who wanted to push the boundaries of what was acceptable, sneaking adult fears into our childhood living rooms. Tonight, we are revisiting the trauma. We are looking at 4 specific shows that defined a generation not by their jokes, but by their nightmares. These are the cartoons that made us check under the bed, the shows that introduced us to the concept of mortality, and the productions that, looking back, were clearly never meant for kids at all. If you grew up in the 90s, the Ren Stimpy show was a badge of honor. It was the show you watched when your parents weren't looking. But revisiting it as an adult, the question isn't, why was this funny? The question is, how was this legal? Created by John Kricfalusi, Ren Stimpy was the antithesis of the Disney aesthetic. While Disney was making clean, beautiful, moralistic fairy tales, Kricfalusi was obsessed with the grotesque. He wanted to show the fluids, the veins, the bloodshot eyes, and the decay of the body. He pitched the show to Nickelodeon, a network for children, but he never intended to make a children's show. He was making a show for himself. The psychological dynamic between the 2 main characters is the first red flag. This isn't a buddy comedy. It is a depiction of an abusive relationship. Ren Hook, the asthma hound chihuahua, is a textbook sociopath. He is violent, emotionally unstable, and physically abusive toward the dim-witted cat, Stimpy. In episode after episode, we watched Ren slap, beat, and degrade Stimpy. The screams were real. The anger felt genuine. It was uncomfortable, intimate violence played for laughs. But the true horror of Ren Stimpy lay in its gross-up close-ups. The animators would freeze the frame on a character's face or a body part, and the art style would shift from cartoony to hyper-realistic oil painting. You would see every cracked tooth, every throbbing vein, every pustule, and every nose hair in excruciating detail. In the episode The Tooth Fairy, watching Ren nervously grind his own teeth down to raw nerve endings wasn't just gross. It was visceral body horror that rivaled anything in a David Cronenberg movie. The most infamous example of the show's adult nature is the band episode, Man's Best Friend. In this episode, Ren and Stimpy are adopted by a character named George Liquor. The episode was so violent and intense that Nickelodeon refused to air it. In the climax, Ren beats George Liquor with a boat oar. It's not a slapstick bonk, it's a brutal, slow-motion assault. Ren's face contorts into a mask of pure, homicidal rage. His eyes bulge, his veins pop, and he beats the man into a pulp. It was a scene of genuine assault, animated with disturbing passion. It was the moment the mask slipped. Ren Stimpy wasn't a wacky cartoon about a dog and a cat. It was a window into the mind of a creator who found humor in pain, filth, and madness. It taught an entire generation of children that the body is disgusting and the mind is a fragile, scary place. It paved the way for South Park and Beavis and Butthead, but unlike those shows, which aired on adult networks or at night, Ren Stimpy was right there on Saturday morning, sandwiched between Rugrats and Doug, traumatizing us one close-up at a time. In the early 2000s, Nickelodeon made a strange choice. They hired Jonan Vasquez to create a show for them. Vasquez was not a children's book author. He was the creator of an underground comic book called Johnny the Homicidal Maniac. As the title suggests, his previous work was about a serial killer who painted a wall with blood to keep a monster at bay. Nickelodeon wanted edgy. What they got was Invader Zim, a show dripping with nihilism, misanthropy, and legitimate sci-fi horror. The premise seems innocent enough. An alien invader tries to take over Earth, but is terrible at it. But the execution was pure nightmare fuel. The world of Invader Zim is dirty. The sky is always a sickly purple or red. The school is a prison. The humans are portrayed as grotesque, stupid, slobbering cattle. It's a show that seems to hate its own audience. But the episode that cemented Invader Zim as a show meant for adults is the infamous Dark Harvest. In this episode, Zim realizes that to pass as a human, he needs organs. He thinks that the more organs he has, the more human he will appear. So, he begins to hunt the children at his school. He doesn't just chase them, he harvests them. The episode plays out like a slasher movie. Zim stalks the halls, using his mechanical spider legs to snatch students. We don't see the surgeries, but we see the aftermath. We see Zim replacing a child's liver with a hall pass. We see him stuffing the stolen organs into his own small body. As the episode progresses, Zim becomes a bloated, pulsating mass of stolen viscera. He is literally full of other children's intestines and lungs. He waddles through the school, groaning, his body distended and gross. In the climax, he is chased through the ceiling pipes, a scene reminiscent of Alien. When the school nurse examines him, she scans his body. The X-ray shows dozens of hearts, livers, and spleens crammed inside him. And the punchline? He gets away with it. This aired for children. Dark Harvest is about organ theft and mutilation. It is a concept that would be right at home in a Saw movie. Yet, because the blood was replaced with alien goo and the screams were exaggerated, it passed the censors. Invader Zim was eventually canceled, reportedly because the ratings were low among the target demographic, children, and high among teenagers and adults. The kids didn't want to watch it because it was terrifying. It was a show about how awful humanity is, animated by a man who had made a career out of drawing horror. It remains a cult classic today, not because it's a great kids show, but because it's a great dark comedy that accidentally aired on a kids' network. If you grew up in the UK or Europe in the 90s, this title alone is enough to make you shudder. The Animals of Farthing Wood was commissioned by the European Broadcasting Union. Ideally, it was supposed to be an educational show about nature, conservation, and the environment. A group of woodland animals are forced to flee their home because humans are destroying the forest, and they must travel to a sanctuary called White Deer Park. It sounds like Bambi. It sounds sweet. It was a massacre. Unlike American cartoons where characters would fall off cliffs and walk away with an accordion body, the Animals of Farthing would adhere to the brutal laws of nature. If an animal got hurt, they died, and they didn't die peacefully in their sleep. They were murdered, butchered, and executed in graphic detail. The trauma began early. In one of the first episodes, a family of newts is traveling with the group. They are slow, weak, and defenseless. As the group tries to cross a road, the newts panic. We watch, in horror, as the car wheels approach. We don't cut away. We see the car crush them. We see their flattened bodies on the asphalt. But the most scarring moment, the red wedding of children's television, was the death of the pheasants. The group is crossing a farm. The farmer comes out with a shotgun. He shoots the female pheasant. She doesn't just fall over. We see the bullet impact. We see her body jerk. Her husband, frantic with grief, refuses to leave her body. He stands over her, crying, as the farmer reloads. The screen goes red. We hear the second shot. It was a double homicide of two beloved characters, executed with the cold indifference of reality. Then there were the shrikes, birds that impale their prey on thorns. We saw baby mice, characters we had grown to love, impaled on thorns, their bodies hanging limp as a larder for the predator. This show didn't protect children from death, it rubbed their noses in it. It taught us that the world is cruel, that the strong eat the weak, and that sometimes, no matter how brave you are, you get hit by a truck and die. Adults who revisit the show are often shocked by the body count. It operates more like a war drama than a cartoon. The Long March to White Deer Park is a death march. The show was meant for adults, in the sense that it refused to condescend to children. It treated them like adults, assuming they could handle the concept of grief, loss, and brutality. The problem was, we couldn't. We just sat there, traumatized, learning that our favorite fox could bleed to death. Finally, we turn to Cartoon Network and the surreal nightmare that is Courage the Cowardly Dog. On the surface, it's a simple formula. A dog lives in the middle of nowhere with an elderly couple, Muriel and Eustace, and protects them from monsters. But Courage wasn't just a Monster of the Week show. It was an exercise in atmospheric horror. The setting itself is terrifying. The middle of nowhere is a void. It's a desert of nothingness, isolating the characters from all help. The art style used mixed media, combining traditional animation with CGI, stop motion, and gritty, realistic photos. This created an uncanny valley effect that was deeply unsettling to the subconscious. Take the character of King Ramses. In the episode King Ramses' Curse, Courage finds an ancient slab. The spirit of the king comes to reclaim it. But the character isn't drawn like the rest of the show. He is a jagged, primitive CGI model that looks like it belongs in a different dimension. He stands outside the farmhouse, swaying eerily in the wind, chanting in a hollow, echoing voice, "Return the slab, or suffer my curse." It is a sequence of pure dread. The clash of art styles makes Ramses feel wrong, like an intruder in the cartoon world. Then there is the episode Freaky Fred. Muriel's nephew Fred comes to visit. He is a barber. He speaks in a slow, rhyming monologue, smiling a wide, toothy grin. He traps Courage in the bathroom and begins to shave him. "Naughty," he whispers. "Nawawati." The episode is drenched in the subtext of assault and violation. Fred isn't a monster. He's a psychopath. The way he touches Courage, the way he talks about being naughty, the manic look in his eyes, it taps into a very real, very adult fear of abuse by a family member. It's psychological horror disguised as a haircut. But the most disturbing theory, one that many adults subscribe to, is that the show is actually viewed through the warped perspective of a dog. To a dog, the mailman is a villain. The vacuum cleaner is a monster. A stranger at the door is a demon. But Courage takes this and twists it. There is a final episode that perfectly encapsulates the show's dark heart, The Mask. In it, a cat-like creature named Kitty comes to the house. She wears a white mask. She hates dogs. Throughout the episode, she beats Courage brutally. She tries to drown him. It's incredibly violent. Eventually, Courage discovers why. Kitty is fleeing an abusive relationship. Her best friend, a dog named Bunny, is being held captive by a boyfriend named Mad Dog. Courage goes to save Bunny. He finds her buried in a flower pot, only her head sticking out, while Mad Dog threatens to run her over with a car. This is a storyline about domestic violence, sex trafficking, and gang violence. Mad Dog is a pimp-like figure. Bunny is a battered woman. The mask Kitty wears is the emotional wall she built to survive trauma. This is heavy, tragic, adult subject matter, presented to 7-year-olds under the guise of a pink dog running around screaming. Looking back, it is a miracle these shows ever made it to air. They were Trojan horses. They looked like gifts, colorful, animated, funny. But inside, they carried the soldiers of adulthood, death, violence, neurosis, and fear. Maybe the creators were trying to toughen us up. Maybe they were just bored and wanted to see what they could get away with. Or maybe they understood something important, that children like to be scared. That childhood isn't just sunshine and rainbows. It's a confusing, scary time where the world feels big and dangerous. These shows validated that fear. They told us, yes, there are monsters under the bed. Yes, people die. Yes, the world is crazy. And while they may have given us nightmares, they also gave us some of the most memorable, impactful television of our lives. We survived them, even if we still can't look at a slab without hearing that voice. Return the slab.